This morning I asked you to sit there so you could be closer to me, because it's also about you, what we're doing here, about your confirmation. And even if the meaning
name, you will come forth. I shall place the sorting hat on your head, and you will be sorted into your houses. Hermione Granger?
Oh no. Okay, relax. Mental, that one, I'm telling you.
Right then. Right. Okay. Gryffindor!
Draco Malfoy.
Slytherin!
There's not a witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin.
Susan Bones.
Harry, what is it?
Where shall I
Nothing. Nothing, I'm fine.
Let's see. I know. Hufflepuff!
Ronald Weasley.
Ha! Another Weasley. I know just what to do with you. Gryffindor!
Harry Potter.
Difficult, very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either. There's talent, oh yes, and a thirst to prove yourself. But where to put you?
Not Slytherin. Not Slytherin.
Not Slytherin, eh? Are you sure? You could be great, you know. It's all here in your head. And Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. There's no doubt about that. No? Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor!
in this passage, what I particularly like is the face of the kids when their name is called. They are completely afraid because they're not exactly sure what will happen next. But don't worry, it did not look like this a few minutes ago. You were totally cool. So the students at Hogwarts were unsure about what will happen next, and yet they still know that this experience will have a huge repercussion for the rest of their lives. The sorting hat says to Harry that belonging to the house of Slytherin could help him to achieve greatness. And the kids are also afraid because they have no control whatsoever over the whole process. Regardless of our age, almost all of us desire to possess some sort of control over our lives or destiny. This ongoing quest can be perceived in two different kinds of individuals. In fact, I believe that human beings can be divided in two kinds of individuals. The first one is made up of people who try to control their destiny by looking at probabilities. They look by the window, it's raining, and they try to assess what are the odds that something bad will happen to me if I go outside. Estimating the odds, the probability, give them a sense of reassurance and control. The other group is made up of people who try to control their destiny by looking at the possibilities. They look through the window, it's raining, and they try to list everything bad that could happen to them. And if they go outside and knowing all the possibilities, give them some sense of reassurance, some sense of control over their lives. There's two different ways to address the world that's around us. Well, in today's reading, reading from the Acts of the Apostle, we meet Paul in the city of Athens, and the Athenians definitely belong to the second category I just presented, especially when it came to religion. The ancient Athenians were polytheists, meaning they had a god for everything. And everything is not a joke. They had Aphrodite for love, Eris for war, Dionysus for wine, Hypnos for sleep, Aristeus for cheese making, Penthesia for rest and relaxation, and Areopagus for silence. They had the god for silence, you know. The Athenians were people who want to control all their bases. They have a God looking for every aspect of their lives, and this was reassuring. They felt in control. And just in case they might have forgot one God, who might be unhappy about this, well, the Athenians even erected an altar to an unknown God, or a God that nobody knows, depending of the translation you're reading from. For them, it was not about the odds of forgetting a God, but the possibilities of overlooking that God. So when Paul came to Athens and preached about Jesus the Christ, of course, the Athenians were curious of his message. They invited him to go in front of the Areopagus, which is a word I can barely pronounce, but most importantly, it's a place and a group. A little like we talk about church. Church is a building, church is a gathering of people. Well, the Areopagus was a small rocky hill northwest of the Acropolis in Athens, and also it designed a prestigious and venerable council of elders responsible for cultural and moral order who was meeting there. So Paul stood in the middle of this high place of Greek culture and thought. And he did not seem to be intimidated at all. It feels quite the opposite, in fact. After praising the Athenians for their piety and gods, with words that sounds more like a critique than a compliment, he uses encounter to the altar of the God that nobody knows as a point of departure for the remainder of his speech. A little like a minister you know that often starts his sermon with example of common life. Okay. And then Paul tells them, I know who is this unknown God. It's the God who made the world and everything in it, who is the Lord of heaven and earth, and who does not live in shrines made by human beings. In short, my God is your unknown God, and my God trumps all of your God. Voila. Yes, Paul surely sounds a little cocky here. And you would not be surprised if I tell you that the answer received by the Athenians, the members of the Areopagus, in the verse that we usually don't read in church, sounds a little like, yeah, sure, don't call us, we will call you, you know. Paul did not make a lot of convert that day. And yet, maybe touch on something very essential that day. What if he was right? What if our God is a God that nobody really knows? An unknown God. You see, as a minister, I often end up, for some reason or another, in some sort of debates or arguments about proving the existence of God. And I'm often told that if I can make my case clearly, if my arguments are properly built and argue, if my logic is flawless, well, they would believe in God. The problem is that we cannot really prove the existence of God by rhetorical argument or with a formula like A plus B plus C equal God. Because this sort of argument only works up to a certain limit. Because we are finite human beings with finite brain and finite reason, try to understand and meet an infinite God. There are dimensions of deity that goes beyond what human beings can know, this capacity to conceive. Maybe this is why we do not fully know God. Maybe we will never be able to do so. Most of us have been raised and grew very comfortable with anthropomorphic images of God. Like God is a king, a lord, a father, a mother, a warrior, a shepherd, a potter, and just to name a few. And of course, we do understand that these are metaphors, these are image. God is not really literally any of these, but God is like a king, God is like a parent, God is like a shepherd, and so forth. But still, this inclination to create a person, an individual in our minds when we talk about God. We create a God that is not necessarily here, a God that is out there, different from us. You know, when we say, our Father who art in heaven, over there, who might come once in a while when in our lives, when, very specific time, very dramatic event in our lives. Maybe we would gain greater understanding of God if we would accept to open our minds and conceive a God as a non-material reality that surround us and surround everything around us. As Marcus Borg says, God is the one in whom we live and move and have our being. And Marcus Borg has this wonderful image of the fish in the ocean. The fish is in the ocean, the fish is in the water, but there's water also in the fish. And maybe it could be the same when it comes to God and us. God is not somewhere else, but all around us and also inside of us. We live, we move in God, and because there's no place we can be outside of God, well, we cannot look at the whole reality of God. We cannot explain everything about God. We cannot know all about God. Somehow, somewhere, it seems that most of us have lost this capacity to understand God as a mystery. We have grown we have grown very uncomfortable with unexplained side of God. And yet many people says that God's presence is felt the most, and it is the more intense during mystical experience. They connect with God in ways that could not be described easily with words. They just know that God is present in their daily lives, when they share their resources, when they open their doors and offer hospitality to friend and stranger, when they forgive others, when they seek justice and resist evil, when they gather as a church. We might not have the word to explain it properly, but God is still inside and still around us all the time in the same time. So my friends, because yes, you're my friends, this morning you went under the sorting hat, and gladly for us it says, United Church. I hope you're not, I hope you're happy about this. Through your confirmation, we made the choice, all of us, to embark on this next phase of your relationship, our relationship with God, a God that is, a God that we do not always understand, a God that works through us and in us. I'm not expecting that you will know everything about God by now, because nobody should make such a claim. I just hope, and this is my wish for you, that you will keep some space, some open space, the next few months, next few years, for this God that nobody really knows. I wish you will keep this space that might seem to be empty, but still God is there, and see what would happen, where it will lead you, how it could move you, shape you, transform you. I will be honest, it's not easy to do so, because we want to control. We want to hold it. It creates some sense of safety. But the good news is that you don't have to walk this journey, this path alone. You belong to a house, a family, a church, and that is important. So thanks be to God, whoever God might be, and amen.